I would say the average speed in bobsled's probably right at 90 miles per hour.
Oh my gosh.
When you're going that fast and you hit those curves, you hit up to 7 G-forces of pressure. There's been like athletes that have legitimately like shit themselves in a bobsled.
I believe it.
Nosebleeds and puked because of the G-forces of the sled. So.
Hey, what's up, everybody? It's the No Bullshit, Just BullFit podcast, and we have Bill Schuffenhauer here. How you doing, brother?
Dude, I am doing so good. It's like I just saw you. We just spent some time in Phoenix, and we're now back in Utah just making it happen.
I was missing you so much. I had to see you in the next couple days. Otherwise, I would have went through withdrawals for sure.
Right.
Dude, this is so much fun. This medal is very heavy, actually.
It is pretty heavy.
This is Bill's silver medal for bobsledding.
And it also serves as a weapon.
Yeah.
For protection.
Fuck yeah. Dude, I could take somebody's head out with this.
I couldn't believe how
around.
heavy it was, holding on to it.
Dude, and that's the cool thing. Like, that's like people ask me, like,
Look at a neck workout
usually
here.
when we go to events like we did in Phoenix, people are like, do you bring this everywhere you go? I'm like, no, only 2 events. And that's the cool factor is like when you get an opportunity to share that with the world, and when you put it in your hand, you can, every time they're like, oh my gosh. It's like, that's,
I can't believe somebody thought you were like, take this just like everywhere. That's funny.
Some people think I should wear it all the time.
Do you take this to McDonald's?
Yes.
Of course, McDonald's.
When I'm rocking the fry line.
Yeah.
There it is. Well, it's so cool because the whole world watches these athletes win these medals. So it's almost like we're part of it. So I actually get to see it, hold it, feel it. It's
legit.
It's legit.
Yeah.
This is the best present I've ever received on the podcast. Thank you.
I figure we got to
I'm
start.
so excited to just wear it everywhere, actually.
I figure we got to start our relationship off well, so I was going to give you a really nice gift.
Yeah. After all, it is me, you know.
So cool.
Yeah. But that's like you said, it's like that's the cool factor.
Yeah.
It's like just allowing people to see something they typically only see on TV or on a magazine, and actually put that in their hands and have them like that oh shit factor, like whoa.
Yeah,
So,
it's really cool.
Really cool.
And the fact that it's so heavy.
Right.
You just don't expect it to be so dense and heavy.
Yeah. For those that don't know, it's 150 pounds.
Yeah.
Josh just makes it look
You can
super
tell
light.
like Josh is just when he does neck workouts with. Oh yeah, I can do this all day.
How'd you get your neck so strong? It's my Olympic medal that I wear.
Yeah. I stole it from Bill.
Dude, well, it's funny too, right? That's like you see Michael Phelps and he's done those photos with all of them.
Yeah.
I'm like, dude, I don't know how you did that.
No, after actually holding one of the medals,
Right?
that's legit.
I think you can have like 20 of those on your neck, like, right?
Hey, what sport did you start off with?
Track and field and football.
Gotcha. How old were you?
I didn't get involved with, it's kind of a 2-part thing. I got involved with track and field my 8th grade year, but I got kicked off the team for mouthing off to the coaches. Kind of got my act together the next year and joined the track team my 9th grade year. And then my 10th grade year, I did both track and football and just had a great time and kicked butt and enjoyed being a part of teams and, you know, strategy and collaboration and fitness and mindset and all that stuff. So,
were you super developed at an early age?
I don't know about developed. I definitely had some like natural gifts for sure. Like my 9th grade year, I went out and, you know, obviously junior high, went out and the first event I did was a 100-meter dash, and I ran it up in Ogden High because I went to Roy at the time, and held my breath for a whole 100-meter dash. But I won.
Oh my gosh.
And
Why did you hold your breath?
I didn't know what the hell I was doing. I was just running.
Were you underwater? Sometimes I do that when I'm underwater. I hold my breath.
Just that adrenaline kicked in, I guess, and you just
held my
forgot
breath
to
the whole
breathe.
way, but I won. It's all that mattered. And from there, I was like, man, if I just won this event, it's the first time I've ever done it, I'm going to go and try that event and that event and that event. And that's eventually what got me into the decathlon. Is I was just trying all the events, and I was just good at all of them. So.
That's awesome.
How many miles can you hold your breath for?
0.
Oh, okay.
Well, it's funny you ask that, right? I'm a really bad swimmer, and my wife and I are planning to retire in Hawaii and buy like, you know, 140-foot yacht and sail around the world. And I was like, well, if I'm going to do that, probably should learn how to swim.
Become a good swimmer. Yeah.
So it's only been 2 weeks, but I'm like learning to like manage and control my breathing in the water, because I'm that guy who panics in the water. So I'll swim across once and hold my breath. I got to learn how to do that breathing thing when
bring your head up out of the water.
I can't do it because I tried it last week and I suck in like all the water. And then
swimming's hard.
Yeah,
it is.
And then when I'm done, I try to do that back float thing because that's my wife's like, you got to learn how to do the back float. So in case you run into issues, you at least have this as a backup. Yeah. And I was like, I can't do it. And I'm learning how to do it now. So.
She sounds like a smart lady.
She's smart, much smarter than I am.
Yeah, an Olympian freaking out in the kiddie section of the pool.
Dude, you don't know how much shit I get from people all the time. You're an Olympian and you can't swim? I ran on ice, frozen water. Not like
really good with frozen water, not in liquid form.
I like the water, don't get me wrong. I love the water. I just don't function in it well.
Okay.
Yet.
Exactly. So I love to ask athletes this question. Yeah. At an early age, did you notice playing multiple sports? Did it benefit you? Did it help you when it came to track and field and football?
So I grew up in a really bad environment. So at a young age, growing up here in Utah, I was drug addicted parents, ran on the streets, affiliated with a bunch of gangs, 17 different foster homes, in trouble with the law. So how I realized that there could be a potential for me to be an athlete was that, and I always joke about this, I was really good at running from the cops and jumping fences. And I was like,
but that had good use.
Why don't we just turn this into a positive, right? And see if it works out in this sport world of track and field and football, and it did. And so, realizing that I had a physical gift was great, but back then, I don't know how they do it now, I had to also have good grades and be a part of a team. And so I had to learn at an early age from coaches and teachers how to be a teammate and be a team player, and focus and really understand the value of my education. So that helped carry a lot of weight to like really have that as a foundation getting into sports, and just like built a toolbox of like success principles throughout my career that have really, really been good for me and a lot of people I've had an opportunity to collaborate with worldwide.
So cool.
Yeah.
So how do you go from running track and field to bobsled?
What is that? Hold up. Yeah. So I know you did javelin. Too.
Okay.
So javelin is where this guy started off for an Olympian type role. When did you start doing javelin?
So javelin was one of the sports in my main sport, which is the decathlon. For those who don't know, decathlon is a 2-day event competed over 2 days. You have the 100. First day you have the 100, long jump, shot put, high jump 400, 110 meter hurdles, discus, pole vault, javelin 1500 meters.
Oh damn! I should have known that. I had no idea what this was. So.
That's okay. Okay. Yeah. So multi-faceted athlete. Javelin just happened to be one of the events that was one of my favorite events. I love the throws and the jumps quite a bit, and. Yeah, I mean, I qualified for Olympic trials in the decathlon, the long jump, and the javelin.
Oh my gosh!
Geez, so you just pick which one you wanted to go with, and you love javelin, so you decided to go with that.
Javelin's always fun, man. Like, I don't know, there's something about like just taking that spear and just.
Oh yeah, it's
tossing
so
that thing as far as you can.
It's very Spartan-esque, right there.
Yeah. So like, I wanted to get good at it in case I ever went to Africa and went hunting. Right.
Fuck yeah.
Just join.
Peg one of those lions in the back.
Haven't done it yet though. But yeah, I really enjoyed javelin. It's a fun event.
That sounds fun. The javelin. You were dead set to do javelin, and then you hit an obstacle, right?
Yeah, we were at this was at a decathlon. I'll just tell the story. So we were at a decathlon one time, and again, the javelin is one of the events. And every year we had to choose, like, if we were going to do the decathlon, the long jump, and the javelin at NCAAs, at U.S. championships. And during the decathlon, I was throwing, just warming up with my right arm, and ended up like throwing too far out here, and I popped my elbow to the point where I couldn't throw with this arm anymore. And I was almost a 230-foot javelin thrower, and so that was one of my events that I scored a lot of points in the decathlon. And I literally go run into my coach. I'm like, what do we do? Like, I can't throw with my, like, literally can't throw from me to the cameras with my right arm right now because it's just toast. And he looks at me like I was just kind of an idiot. And he's like, well, duh, throw with your left hand. And I'm like, what? Throw with my left hand? And, you guys have ever tried to throw with your opposite hand that you never throw with or do anything with?
It's bad.
It's bad.
Really bad.
You feel bad. So I was like, okay, I started warming up, and all the other athletes are like, oh, this is going to be funny, right? It's the buildup of the more of the give me more shit at the competition. And we're like, all right, well, the competition starts, and I was like, I'm just going to try and take one throw, and hopefully it goes well. And to that point, most of the other decathletes were like 140 to 180 foot javelin throwers at their best.
So you throwing at 230, 240, you're clearing everyone.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my gosh.
I mean, like blowing everyone out of the water.
Holy crap, okay.
So that's why it was a big deal, because it's like in the decathlon, it's all about how far you throw, you add up the points.
What's the record here with javelin?
Oh, my gosh. It's over 300 feet.
What?
Like the guys who
It's a football field.
Yeah, the guys who just throw javelin.
How big is the football field?
300 feet.
Yeah. Oh. If you ever get a chance to go watch, like, legit guys throw a javelin, it is crazy. It looks like they're shooting it out of a gun.
Oh, my gosh.
I mean, the javelin, like, curves as they're throwing it.
Yeah.
You just see it curve, and it's like, boom! And you're just like, that shouldn't be humanly possible to throw that thing that far. So it's a long ways.
Yeah.
So anyways, we get ready, and I'm like, all right, here we go. We'll just throw it. And I throw it, and I literally, as it's flying, I'm like, no way. And literally everybody in the stadium was like, wasn't that his left hand? So I ended up throwing just shy of 170 feet.
Oh, my God.
And all the athletes were super pissed. They're like, you're a
So you beat everyone with your...
I beat everyone with my left hand, throwing the first time.
That's incredible.
Yeah. So
Oh, my gosh.
it was kind of cool. I'm not going to lie. It was cool.
Yeah, really cool.
Oh, my gosh. That's awesome.
So.
Throwing javelins to bobsled. There's a gap. How do we get there?
Yeah, so getting ready for the 2000 Sydney Olympics, we were definitely heavily going to go towards the decathlon. That was my best overall event. So I'd already qualified. I was ranked top 3 in the world, getting ready for the Sydney Olympics in 2000. And came down to BYU just to do a warm-up meet right before Olympic trials. So like 2 weeks before Olympic trials, just do a warm-up meet.
And is your arm completely healed? Right arm back to normal? Okay.
No, it was going to be like one of those things that were just like, we were going to either like literally put a cast on here so I couldn't get flexion in my arm, or just go ahead and attempt the 170-foot miracle. And so we're down at BYU, and the long jump, which is the second event, it was raining at BYU, and my heel slipped as I was getting ready to take off. And then when my foot and my spikes hit the long jump board, it rotated and basically nearly almost ripped my ankle off. And didn't quite realize the extent of the issue there yet. And so we taped it up. I went and did the shot put, which was difficult because I rotate off of this foot in the shot put. And then the next event was the high jump. And again, trying to jump off this leg, and we had shot it up with numbing agent and painkillers, and I did my 3 because normally I would open up at like 6'3" in the high jump.
Okay,
that's where I would start jumping at, and we're like, all right, let's just bring it down to something you could do really, really easily.
Yeah.
So we'll jump at 5'6" just to start, and I blew through all 3 of my jumps and didn't make it, and so. I recall laying there on the high jump mats, and it's raining, just thinking, you know what, all my dreams and my goals of becoming an Olympian are gone. They're down the tube, and started crying and was so just destroyed emotionally that I left all of my gear at the track. My coach came up to me, and I said, I don't want to talk to you, grabbed my bag and walked off. And felt sorry for myself for about good 3 or 4 months, and then somebody that I knew was like, hey, you should get involved with this sport called bobsled. Guys like you that are track and field and football guys that are super explosive and super fast are really good at it. And the Winter Olympics are here this year. And I was like, first off, what in the hell is bobsled? Second, what is the Winter Olympics? And in my head, I'm thinking, I don't ski, I don't play hockey. And just like we talked about, they introduced me to the sport watching Cool Runnings. That was my first introduction to the sport.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, they're like,
they're just like, watch it.
no, just some week, just like they are like, hey, you've got to go home and rent this movie called Cool Runnings. And so I did and watched it, and I was like, okay, I could kind of make the connection.
Yeah.
And then when I met with like my first coaches, they showed me a video of Team USA competing in two-man over in St. Moritz, Switzerland. And that's when I really saw the just the physicality, the horsepower, the athleticism it took to be a bobsled athlete. And I was like, yeah, let's just go for it.
Cool.
So we had a year and 3 months to make the transition before the Olympics were here in Salt Lake City. And we just said, hey, why not? No bullshit. Why not? Let's just go for it and see what happens.
Yeah, boy, no bullshit. What's up, dog?
Right? And let's just go for it and see what happens, and put the same mindset and desire and passion for making the Olympic team in Sydney and track over into bobsled. And it ended up working out really well. Made the team, won the first Olympic medal for Team USA in 46 years, and then did 2 more Olympics.
That is so cool. So did you allow a time for the healing when it came to your ankle, leg, elbow, shoulder?
Yeah, so the javelin thing happened like the year before.
Okay.
So, I mean, we still had issues with it. We knew we were going to have issues with it at BYU.
Yeah.
But for bobsled, it didn't really have any application or problem. The ankle was always still a problem. I still have problems with the ankle today. But for the most part, you know, when you push a bobsled, it's just like sprinting up a hill, if you will. You know, it's not as fast at the beginning, but then obviously it transitions much faster than regular sprinting.
Yep.
And as long as you get in the bobsled okay and you don't do stupid stuff, like the ankle was fine. But yeah, it was just, if I had to jump off of it or do anything like that, that was a problem.
You feel it.
But yeah, it all worked out.
So cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so you got this medal on the first run in Salt Lake.
Yeah, so my first ever medal was when I did get involved with bobsled. My first competition, I won a gold medal in 4-man in the America's Cup in Canada. And yeah, so my first year, I won every race I ever competed in.
So cool.
Gee, just blowing them out of the water.
And then switched over to the national team and went to the Olympics and won that, and won 2 world championship medals and a handful of national championships, a handful of World Cup championship titles, and athlete of the year, team of the year. And so, like, obviously I made a good decision to pursue the sport, because I was supposed to, and I don't know if I told you this, before I went to do bobsled, I was supposed to go to Orlando. The guy who owned the Orlando Predators, which there's actually a documentary on this guy, he wanted me to come down and play for the Orlando Predators, the arena team. And I was like, yeah, I'll come down there. Let me try this bobsled thing really quick, and then I'll go from there. And then obviously made the team and went to the Olympics. So I was like, yeah.
Wait. What sport is the Predators?
Football, arena football.
Arena football.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So with bobsled, you first have to try out for like a national team or like a collegiate team, or like how does that work?
Yeah, so you, there's no collegiate team. It's not like Europe where they grow you from, like, you know, you're born and all of a sudden they throw you into a bobsled as a child. But they because the Olympics were coming to Salt Lake, they had a lot of athletes that were already here training. And so I ended up just going up there and meeting a bobsled athlete. They're like, hey, we want to see you do a workout. So they drove up to Weber State to watch me do my regular track workout.
Yeah.
And funny enough, there's a joke from the old rafters at Weber State Stadium. I don't know who did this, but there was a CD hanging from the rafters, and it was probably at least 12 feet in the air. And I was walking, and I just jumped up and touched it, and they were like, really? And I was like, what? They're like, can you do that again? I was like, oh yeah, because I had like almost a 40-inch vertical.
Oh my gosh.
So that's when they officially said, hey, we want to have you come try out for our team.
Okay.
And the first team I made was like Team USA 5.
Okay.
So for that level of a team, we were a good team. Like I said, we went to the America's Cup and won a bunch of races, went to the Europe Cup, won a bunch of races. And then that's when Team USA 1, 2, and 3, the top teams that actually had world rankings, noticed how well I was doing, because I just wanted to become a student of the sport and learn, because my time frame was much shorter than most. I wasn't a very welcomed athlete because I was this guy coming from nowhere. into this sport that they've been working on for years. But I told all the athletes, I'm like, hey, listen, I'm meant to be here. I've done everything I need to do to be here for this opportunity. I said, so hopefully you do too. So I just went in with the same mindset and got asked by all the other teams if I'd make the switch, and didn't make the switch from my team until a week before Olympic trials.
Okay.
And everybody was freaking out again because I was like the new guy on the team. And we weren't going to have me compete at the Olympic trials because Team USA 1 is the team that was ranked #1 in the world.
Okay.
That's the team that invited me on their team. And they're like, we don't have to do Olympic trials because we're ranked so high, so we can skip them. But then we were getting so much flack from all the other coaches and teams. My driver, Todd Hayes, was like, hey, we're going to have, we're just going to go do some fun 4-man runs just to prove that we made the good decision going with you. And I was like, okay, cool. So we went and did it, and we broke the start record on the track and destroyed everyone, and everyone just after that shut up. So
it's fantastic.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. So what does training look like? Is it weightlifting? Is it running? Is it a combination? Like, what is training for bobsled?
It's
look like?
So for bobsled specifically, it's a lot like training as a sprinter, running back, linebacker.
Okay.
You're trying to when you're doing your lifts, you're really focused on your Olympic lifts, your clean snatches, deadlifts, a lot of plyometrics, a lot of sprinting, and trying to combine, an athlete who, in my case, was 6 foot, 216 pounds, who could run a 4.29 40, have a 40-inch vertical, squat 600 plus pounds, bench nearly 500 pounds, and basically put it all together, right? And so
you were like designed for this sport.
Super designed.
Oh
for
my
this
gosh.
sport.
Okay.
Yeah. And so it's and then you start including obviously things that people don't think of, like your nutrition, your chiropractic work, your physio work, some stuff that people would consider voodoo as far as making sure like your body, your muscles are on alignment, your nerves are firing. Just all sorts of weird stuff, but you're doing everything you possibly can with the tools and resources you have at that time to be the very, very best at everything you do, from even when you're not practicing, just your mindset and how you think about your sport, how you think about your training, all the way to the competition and everything in between.
So cool.
It's just like it's and I didn't really realize like how strategic we were until I actually retired from sport.
Okay.
And I was like, man, like, being around other people just at a regular gym, like I've backed off a lot now, but my wife always gives me a hard time when we go to the gym. She's like, you do realize when you go to the gym and you go into the Olympic lifting space, the whole gym stops and is watching you. I'm like, why? And they're like, because you're moving like more weight than they've ever seen anybody do like that. I've backed off since then, but yeah, you're just trying to, maximize every moment of everything you're doing, and it's just not the physical; it's also the mental, the emotional, and all that stuff too. So,
how many hours a day are they training you?
That was my job, so that's what I did full time. So if I wasn't like physically out on the track or physically in the gym, I'm researching, I'm studying how to be better. I'm working with the chiropractor. I'm working with the physiotherapist.
Do they want you to be heavier or lighter?
Depends on the team. All the guys on my team were between 215 and about 230.
Okay. You're big boys.
Yeah.
I didn't even. You can't really tell because you guys are all in suits.
Yeah, right.
But
the cute little spandex outfits.
Yeah. Yeah, but 215 is the average weight.
Yeah. Like for my team back then, and I would say most U.S. teams, a lot of the teams sit between 215 and 230.
Is there 4 dudes on this thing?
There's 2-man and 4-man.
2 men and 4 men, and you competed with both of them, or
yeah.
Okay.
That medal's for 4-man.
And on the 4-man, do you guys have like assigned roles? Like we got, you're the ox or the bull, and are you in the front? Are you in the middle? Do you pick straws?
Yeah, no. So before the season starts, like right now, I might guess like a lot of the athletes are either in Lake Placid, and it's a lot of trial and error. It's like if all of us were here, We're going to try out for the bobsled team. We would try everybody in different positions to see who naturally can fit that position. And it sounds easy, and when you watch bobsled, it looks really easy, but it's so unnatural to like push this machine and run on ice and then jump in at the same time. And it really like messes with a lot of athletes. It's pretty interesting.
Sure.
Yeah. So
I'd be the guy getting in like way too late or way too early.
Yeah, and that's most athletes. That's what happens, right? Because they're like, "Oh my God, I got to jump in," because they start panicking, and then you get your other athletes like Jamaican team that they're also just physically gifted and they can sprint really, really well, and then they'll sprint too far. And the problem with sprinting too far is you slow the velocity of the sled down, which makes a night or day difference.
Yeah.
That's why they've always been typically first at the start and last at the end, because they kill their velocity.
Interesting.
So
so
it's a lot of trial and error to try and figure out who fits where. I've been in camps where, we've got a slew of like professional sprinters, professional NBA players, professional NFL players, and when it actually comes time to like push the sled on ice and go down the hill, it filters them out really quick.
How dangerous is the sport?
That also really depends on the track. Like the track here in Park City, for the most part, it's fairly safe. There's a couple of tracks like Vancouver, Altenburg, Germany, Sigulda, Latvia, that are really, really high technical tracks that are really, really fast. And same thing with like Cortina d'Ampezzo, which is in Cortina, Italy. And so if you make any mistakes on that track, there's always the possibility of flying out of the track, and that's not good at all.
Yeah, I could imagine. Has there been any fatalities?
Oh, several, yeah.
It seems like a very dangerous
Yeah, because you
sport.
think about it, right? The way I try to compare it to other people, and people don't go out and do this, but jump in your car, go on the highway, and drive 100 miles per hour down the highway, and now imagine just hitting a big curve, like instantaneously, right? So, and then think about it too. Even if you just have a general crash in the bobsled, let's say like you come up a curve and you just miss a line, and when I say miss a line in bobsled, it's all about like hitting the right line.
Who's steering the thing?
And it might be a difference from here to here. Driver, he has like 2 D rings and they're on ropes, and they just turn the blades as people think they are, the runners, like this or like that. But even if you have a general crash, you're still going 90 miles per hour, and it's on ice, which is like getting road burn on the road. So we have to, underneath those little cute spandex outfits, we have what we call burn suits, and it's the material like, anybody here fish, and you have those gloves that help prevent you cutting your hand. So that's kind of the material that the burn suits are made out of. And even then, when you crash, you have to like put your helmet on the ice for a minute. When your neck gets tired, you put your shoulder on and hope to God you have like a burn suit on, or it'll just literally rip your shoulder right off, and you transition until the sled stops.
I think I've seen that.
Yeah.
I'm like, what are they doing?
Yeah.
But they act, you're a stoic, and they just go like this.
Yeah, no. It's them trying to save their shoulder from getting completely ripped off.
Oh, dude, I did not
So
know
from
that.
start to finish, for those that aren't familiar with it, how long does one run last?
Depending on the track, about a minute, because it's about a mile long. I would say the average speed in bobsleds probably right at 90 miles per hour.
Oh my gosh.
I know in Vancouver, they had the guy from Georgia, the country, who died. They actually had to slow that track down because we were doing over 100 miles per hour, and it was too much for the sled and the driver to handle it. They just couldn't handle the speed, because when you're going that fast and you hit those curves, you hit up to 7 G-forces of pressure, and that it shit hurts. I'll be honest. Like, guys in F-16s and stuff, they have a G suit on, so it helps regulate, and we have spandex outfits, and we're bent over. Right, and so you've had athletes that are,
And you got 4 large men put into a small little metal capsule, pretty much.
There's been like athletes that have legitimately like shit themselves in a bobsled.
I believe it.
Nosebleeds and puked because of the G-forces of the sled. So
that's crazy. Well, it's great. Your story is great. Being in 17 different foster homes, that's got to be really hard to overcome and be like, oh, I'm going to be an Olympian. I'm going to keep pushing myself. A lot of people would definitely be giving up a, foster home one maybe.
Yeah, I mean, in reality, right, when you think about the mindset of humanity, is like we're all given a choice of what we want to do in life, and majority of humanity just accepts like the negative that happens to them, when in reality is like, what can you do with that negative? Can you turn it into a positive? And for me, I just knew that there was something bigger and better for me, and I knew I wanted to create something more for my life than this street life and drugs and alcohol and partying and all that stuff. And so I set out on a journey of like, how do I create my life by design? And I talk a lot in what I do now about creating a business by design, creating your life by design, whatever it is. Like, let's create it by design rather than by default. And so just I've always looked at anything that happens in my life as a negative or a failure, which most people call it, right, as a learning lesson. And how do I learn from that and grow from it and take it to that next level? And so I just didn't want to be defined that, I was a kid who grew up in that space and just accepted that as okay and could have continued to go down that path and do the same thing that some of my family members did and end up either dead or in jail or prison the rest of their life. And I was like, no, I want to do something more. And so I just decided I want to change my stars and change the direction of the path of my family. And it's cool now because like I reflect back then, because I was in 7th grade making these types of decisions, and a lot of it had to do with wanting to make sure that my kids never had to experience any of that stuff. And now I've got 3 biological kids that are all doing really, really well, and they don't even know what that's like outside of me telling them about it. But they are all going to school, they're all successful, they're all into sports and education, and they're all into like service, and so I feel like I've done a fairly good job. That doesn't mean there weren't a whole lot of mistakes along the way as well, but that decision I made back in 7th grade has now come to fruition, and I've just created this amazing life, like I said, by design. And
do you have anybody that's in particular that you saw stood out in your head to motivate you or inspire you?
First and foremost, it was me. I wanted to take accountability for my own life and see what I could do. But then my first inspiration was my grandma. I was one of those guys that got, again, bouncing back and forth for all these foster homes, and my grandma would take me in sometimes. So my grandma was the first one that really taught me to be accountable to myself. And then when I got involved with sports, obviously my coaches and my teachers who were there to support me, and just realized that I could build this amazing life with, if I created a community and I surrounded myself with the right people, there's nothing I couldn't achieve in life. And so I look up to everyone. It doesn't matter where they're at in their life, because I feel like I can learn something from everyone. It doesn't matter if this person's homeless or you're a guy who owns billions of dollars in companies. I can learn something from everyone. And so that's just always how I've looked at life, is that I've never and never will become anything better than anyone else, because I'm always going to be a student of the game. And I feel like that's what helps me keep going and moving forward.
Super smart.
Yeah.
How have you used your tools that you have grown in the Olympics and being an athlete and transitioned that into business and speaking?
Yeah, it's pretty interesting too, because the majority of the corporate world uses a lot of lingo that talks about like high level success and accomplishments and team building, but very few actually implement it. And so I've had the opportunity to truly implement what does that Olympic mindset look like when I put it into my business. And it doesn't matter if it's my tech companies or my media companies or anything like that. It's all about collaboration, being strategic, being clear on why you're here. And so it's really helped me to probably start and grow companies a lot faster than a lot of people, and really have a path of true success. But also, back when I was in college, my coach used to always say, plan your race your plan, but also be prepared for the unknowns. So, a lot of times when I'm, starting a company or we're in the trenches with a company, we have a pretty clear vision of what we're doing, what we want to do, but we also prepare for the unknowns so we don't get derailed. Because for the most part, we all know what those things are that can derail you in business, and so it just really helps me stay on top of everything that we're doing, continually being very strategic about what we're doing, and just really understanding where we're at and being accountable to ourselves, right? Because at the end of the day, the success of the organizations, whether it's the companies or speaking, is all going to fall on me. And so how much I put into it is how much I'm going to get out of it.
Now that you've retired a little while ago from being an Olympic athlete, how are you still involved with the Olympics, with the games?
Yeah, so I never really planned on staying truly a part of the Olympic movement once I retired. But when I did retire, and after a while, I started missing that community, right? That brotherhood, that sisterhood of Olympic and Paralympic athlete and the Olympic movement. And so back in 2018, I put my name in the hat to serve as the president, Utah chapter president for the Olympic and Paralympic alumni. And you have to get voted in by your peers. And I honestly didn't think I'd get that, and ended up getting voted in by my peers to be the Utah chapter president. And so I've served that position for the last since 2018. And it was always a goal and a dream of mine to compete in the Olympics in Salt Lake City, which I did. But then if they ever came back, to serve on the executive side of that. And obviously we're getting the Olympics back here in 2034. And not too long ago, I put my name in the hat to serve on the executive committee. Again, you have to be voted in by your peers, and was elected by my peers to serve as the executive committee. So as far as the athletic side of stuff, there's nothing really to do with it. It's mostly everything behind the doors. Like, everyone always sees like the end products of, so we deal with things that, like the crazy issues with women's gymnastics, like how do we prevent that in the future, right? How do we engage the athletes once they retire? How do we provide more tools and resources and education for the athletes? How do we provide them better nutrition and so on, as we were talking about earlier, right? How do we help these athletes create this life to put them in the very best position possible on top of what they're doing to succeed? So
cool.
It's obviously, we had the big party of the Salt Lake 2034 Olympics, and I was at all that stuff and doing media and all that fun stuff, and everything that I had dreamed about even back in 2002 is now starting to come to fruition again as well. And it's, there's something to be had about building a life by design and doing it with intention. So some things take longer, but at the end of the day, it works out, and I can check all those things off the box.
So hell yeah. Okay, Bodacious. What do you think about Bodacious?
Dude, I love Bodacious. And I'm not just saying that because we're on this podcast. It's actually, my wife and I both use it.
Yeah, Todd, you can put the gun down.
Right.
He does like it. Got it.
No, my wife I was telling my wife before I came here, she's like, tell those guys to give us some T-shirts, and I'm going to start wearing them to the gym, and she wants us to give some stuff out. So that tells you, like, we've ingrained Bodacious into our day-to-day and stuff like that. And
very good.
Yeah. So I think it's great, and it's. I'm a huge fan of somebody creating product services that are encompassed all in one, and it has all the things that you need in one place. And for me, and I think for a lot of athletes, Bodacious checks that mark. It's like it has all the things necessary to be successful when it comes to your supplementation and your fitness. And you guys are just on the right path.
Yeah, we got Hydrate for you too. So
I know I'm excited.
Let you go home with a bunch of Hydrate.
Because Olympic athletes too, right? It's very critical for Olympic athletes to have a certified by USADA or WADA product, and it sounds like you guys are on your path to that too. And I've already started talking to a bunch of Olympic
while that's getting approved, we got the Hydrate for you. So
well, I can totally take it, good. So I'm good. Like
anybody can take Hydrate though. Any of the Olympians can take it. Yeah. How do you think our products will help bobsledders, Todd the pharmacist?
I mean, it's perfect for them.
Right.
When you look at the amount of exercise that they need to do to prep for it, the amount of strength, the explosive energy that they need just to compete, Bodacious is literally designed for those types of movements, for that explosive energy, but then also for that recovery at the same time. Like, it's made for bobsled athletes. Like, once we get that approval, that certification for WADA approved, NCAA Olympic athletes, I think it'll just enhance the training of every athlete.
And the beauty about that too is, like, a few of my other companies, we have one that I serve on the board. It's called Athletes for Good TV. In fact, I'm doing an event later on this year. I told you about it with Manny Pacquiao in LA.
Oh my gosh.
The other one's called the Next American Sports Pro. So just think of the American Idol, but for the next American sports professional.
Very cool.
And then one of my other companies, TMIC Global, stands for the most important conversation. I may have mentioned that earlier. We have a database of, I think, 500,000 users around the country. They're all mostly business people, but at the same time, we have a lot of like weekend warrior athletes that do triathlons and stuff like that. And so I want to, if it's okay with you guys, man, I'd love to start introducing like our communities to the BullFit family.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
No
Stamp
way.
of approval there.
No,
No,
just kidding.
we're done. We're done. No.
I don't think so. Nice try, Bill.
Well,
Trying to help
it's
out.
like when you find a product that you know works,
Yeah.
and it's quality. Like, you know, I've heard you guys and I've heard you talk about it several times. The quality that you guys put into the supplements. It's not like you're just like, let's just roll out, let's just white label something and roll another thing out, right? You guys
there's
actually
so much
put
of that
some
going on. It's ridiculous.
effort and thought into it. You have a pharmacist on board that's there
Yep.
to ensure the quality and the purity
And he's
of the
jacked.
product.
Did
He
you
is
see his
jacked.
arms?
He told me he was
hides them.
6'3" at one point.
He's got like
130
a-
pounds.
130 pounds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Triple XL on at all times,
Right.
but
So
yeah.
then that's the beauty, and I think, you know, obviously that's why you guys are doing so well right now, is because you have a product and you're putting out products that are quality, pure, solid products.
Thank you. And I think now more than ever, people are more aware.
Yeah.
Right? Before it was, you know, if you were playing a college sport or an Olympic sport, you were very aware of what you're putting into your body.
Yeah.
Nowadays, just across the board, just people that are just trying to feel better,
Right.
exercise, get in shape, stay in shape, we're so much more aware.
Yeah.
And I think that's where BullFit, I think we're ahead of the game.
Oh, yeah.
As far as creating it clean enough, safe enough, effective enough. I think it's just going to go widespread.
And I mean, and the name BullFit.
I mean, right?
I was telling him last night, I was like, dude, we got to, remember Andy Elliott was talking from the event in Phoenix, and he's like, oh, Dwayne The Rock Johnson is here. And I'm like, dude,
Yeah.
we've got to get some BullFit in his hands.
Right?
The Brahma
Yeah.
Bull's got to
Yeah.
have some
He's-
BullFit.
he needs some BullFit
I'll
in
throw
his
it out
hands.
there. Brahma Bull, wherever you're at, we've got to get you some
Yeah.
BullFit.
Dwayne Johnson, let's go, baby. That would be so sick.
I've got to assume he's about maybe 2 degrees of separation for me. So
Oh.
let's figure it out.
All right.
Well,
let's
then
do
I
it.
guess he's 3 degrees from me. So this
Right?
is I tell people that. That's exciting.
Exactly right.
Yeah, I basically
know Dwayne.
Yeah, I've
the
got
right
a room
one.
at his
Yeah, I know,
house
he's-
on the down low. You know, it's the Josh area.
Right.
Love it.
Yeah,
So
that's so cool. But yeah, that'd be great. So the next American athlete, it's like American Idol.
yeah, so I mean, people can go to the nextamericansportspro.com.
Okay.
We have our first basketball tryouts in Las Vegas coming up here at the end of the month, and it'll be like the American Idol. In fact,
Was that
we gotta
Simon
get
guy
you
going
guys
to be there?
connected because one of our stops is here in Salt Lake City.
No way. Okay.
So we'll have basketball, football, all the main sports, boxing, MMA. We've got some pretty big players already on board
Dang.
behind this thing, and we already have some TV channels that want to take it over to Europe, and
Yeah.
so
Well, it's a huge demographic.
Oh
that
my gosh,
Isn't really
crazy.
touched on television,
Right?
right? Like we see the collegiate, we see pro,
Yeah.
we see these semi-pro, but we don't have like a competition
Yeah.
to get you to that level.
Well, and think about it too. We only see the very best athletes who make it to the professional level. But think about how many other athletes are still behind the scenes trying to make it.
yeah.
And for whatever reason, you know, whether it might be finances, coaching, nutrition, whatever, they just don't have that chance. So the next American Sports Pro is going to be that.
Well,
like,
it gives them
advocate.
that. It gives that story,
Yeah.
right? For you
Yeah.
to follow, for you to
Yeah.
root for
Right.
someone.
Yeah.
Very cool.
So it's going to be interesting to see like what comes out of this, and
Is Pacquiao involved with this?
he's involved with the Athletes for Good TV. But funny enough, these are 2 different boards that I serve on,
Okay.
and they're going to collide
So
here
cool.
pretty soon. So now we take this next American Sports Pro, Athletes for Good TV, BullFit, and we just
Smash it all together.
smash it
When
together.
worlds collide.
Oh,
Yeah, that's cool.
So circling back just a little bit,
yeah.
someone that has a dream to become an Olympic athlete, what's some advice that you'd give to him?
Oh man, you know, at the foundational level is depending on what they want to do is just obviously reach out to. because you see it all the time. People's like, I want to do this, but I don't know how. Look up the federation. If it's bobsled, look up the bobsled federation. If it's gymnastics, look up the gymnastics federation. They usually always have somebody within the organization that is there for like recruiting to help those athletes like figure out like what they need to do, where they need to go. You know, I know for bobsled athletes, like if you're a 215-pound guy somewhere in that area, anywhere from I'll say 180 pounds to 250, you can run 4.5. You can hit some of those other numbers like good vertical, good squat, good clean. Come out and try it. You know, why not? That's the thing is like, why not just go try it?
Yeah.
If you do good, you do good. And people here in Salt Lake have a great opportunity because we have the Olympic Park here. But you never know until you try. So
very cool. Love it.
Hey, Bill, where can we find you? What's the easiest way to reach you?
Yeah, so I have all the social medias. I actually have to add a TikTok because I just started another branding marketing media company. So we act as a relativity media. So you can go to theolympianspeaks.com. Hopefully it's not down because we're redoing that. But okay. I'm on Instagram, Bill Schuffenhauer, Facebook, Bill Schuffenhauer. Business-wise, preferably through LinkedIn. Okay. But I'm pretty easy to find.
Very cool.
Great.
So, yeah.
Well, Bill, thank you so much for sharing your story. 3 times Olympian. I'm so stoked to call you a friend. I'm so lucky. And, thank you so much for being on the podcast, brother.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, guys. Appreciate you. Everyone behind the scenes, thank you.
Hey, guys, that concludes our No Bullshit, Just BullFit podcast with Bill Schuffenhauer. So nice to have you. We'll see you next time.